Thank you very much and welcome. Appreciate your taking time this afternoon. And we have an agenda which has some detail in it, but Chris and I think that we will need less than an hour to go through. And our first step will be to take a roll call to determine who's here. And I need to ask for those online who are in their their professional offices, if they would identify the street address of their offices. For people who are calling from home or some other private location, just identify the city or county that you are sitting in. And do our guests need to identify their location, Chris?
They can. I'll keep it.
Okay. All right. Well, good. All right. So let's try this. Okay. First off, do we have David Weber present? Yes, I can see you, David.
Yes, Dave. I was muting myself. David Weber, professor of the practice, and I am sitting at in Purdue Hall, room 230, 1101 Camden Avenue, Salisbury, Maryland, on the campus of Salisbury University.
Perfect. Thank you. Even got the zip code in there. Good. Do we have Solomon Ashby? We do not. Do we have Lola Rodriguez Perkins? Do we have Patrick Mumphrey? Do we have Jennifer Franklin?
Yes, and I'm in Chisinau, Moldova.
Thank you very much for taking your time. It's well into the evening, I imagine, for you.
David, I believe Lola just joined.
Good.
Hi.
Hi, Lola. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, sorry about that. I lost track of time.
I am always calendar challenged, so I congratulate you on being close. Are you in your office, Lola?
I am, yes.
Okay, could you tell us the street address of your office?
Yes, it's 45 School Street, and that's in Surrey, Virginia, zip code 23883.
Excellent, okay. I don't believe we have Judge Ortiz. He said he was not going to be able to make it, and I just got an email short while ago from Sandra Chin Gilstrap saying she was also going to be unavailable. I, of course, am here at the Appalachian School of Law. Do we need the street address for that, Chris?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Also with me here are Bruce Russell and Katie Gallagher, both committee members. And Katie's also our host, and everything is going beautifully so far. So
far, so good.
Thank you. Do we have Jerry Kilgore?
Yes, at 1200 19th Street, Washington, D.C. today.
Great. Thank you, Jerry. Do we need the zip, Chris?
I can look it up.
Okay.
Because I don't know it, sorry.
Okay. And we also have Henry Sue. And Henry, where are you?
I'm in Bethesda, Maryland today.
I'm sorry, I did not hear that, Henry.
I'm in Bethesda, Maryland today.
Bethesda, Maryland. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And we have, I know we have at least one guest. I invited Andrea Bridgman, who is chair of our parallel committee and the Supreme Court's Access to Justice Commission, is an invited guest, and we're keeping each other informed of what we're doing. And do we have any other guests, any bar officers or executive?
That sounds like me, David. It's Michael York, and I'm not in my office. I'm in Loudoun County.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Thanks for being with us. And Michael is the incoming, he is now the president-elect of the State Bar and will become president in a few weeks. All right, thank you very much for the roll call.
David, I think someone else joined when you had moved over to the guests. It may be a committee member, someone at a 404 number.
Solomon Ashby.
Solomon, thank you for being with us. And Solomon, are you at your office or some other, like a home location?
I'm at my office.
Okay, could you give us the street address, please?
1345 Court Street, Portsmouth, Virginia.
And the zip. Yeah.
23704.
It's a quiz today with the zip codes.
I didn't see it.
We have a bunch of people who weren't good at math, so that's why they're all lawyers.
That's right.
That's good. Okay. Thank you all again. For our agenda today, we are going to go through our committee names, see if we can establish some consensus, talk about our mission statement and scope of work, and Chris sent us a draft to look at that she and I worked on together. Talk about subcommittees and I proposed schedule. Well, the proposed schedule, we'd like to at least establish the next business meeting date for us, and then discuss any other stakeholders that we should be keeping in mind, any other research initiatives. And I want to start off with an update on discussions about the scope of our work. In our last meeting, we talked about whether we would focus just on the legal desert issue, which is what President James and I first started off discussing, or whether we wanted to expand that because of the, I guess, disappointing at the least number of law graduates who are taking the Virginia bar and staying in Virginia these days. And it's actually beyond disappointing. It may be becoming a crisis. And I think certainly several of us in our last discussion thought that we should continue our focus on legal deserts because expanding it to the broader issue would be taking on quite a bit more. I since had communications with Chris, with our executive director, Cameron, and with Chidi James about the expansion, and they are all in favor of expanding it to consider the larger issue for us, because it does affect legal deserts, but also because it is a very important problem facing the bar, needs to be faced soon, and solutions, if they're available, developed, and this committee is in a good position to do that. So that is the sort of the change in mind, which I fully endorse, and I wanted to bring that to the committee first and ask, is there any concern or objection about enlarging our focus? Of course, it is going to be more work, and what Chris and I are proposing is two subcommittees, one to focus on legal deserts, one to focus on the broader question, and people will be free to serve on one or both committees. I do want to add subcommittees. I do want to ask every member to serve on at least one of the subcommittees. So in doing that, we can divide up the work somewhat, have sort of two sets of recommendations that we ultimately look at and hopefully present to the Bar Council next spring, a year from now. So any discussion about that concept of moving to the broader question of bar applications as well as legal deserts, and addressing it with two subcommittees? Any comment, discussion, question for that?
I think that's absolutely the right way to do it, is to put it into two separate subcommittees under the broader umbrella of the larger working group. I think that's going to be the only way we're going to be able to focus appropriately on those two issues. Because the issues, they're related. Some of the concerns do dovetail, but these are two very different issues. Though I think that we'll have very different solutions.
Right, okay. Did everyone hear Bruce clearly?
Yes.
Excellent, okay. Thank you for that. Thank you, Bruce. And any other comments?
I'll just add, this is Henry Sue, and I agree with Bruce. I think that, the two initiatives are both very much in line with the State Bar's mission statement under goals 3 and 4. Goal 3 is not just access to justice, but access to legal services, which obviously is concerned with the declining population of Virginia's state bar members. And then the goal 4 is obviously improvement of the legal profession and the justice system, which again depends on a healthy population of lawyers.
Excellent, okay. Thank you, Henry. All right, hearing no objection and comments in favor, I think we can safely say that it is the decision of the committee to broaden the scope as I've described. Thank you very much. We'll consider that adopted. Next comes the more challenging part, is choosing a committee name.
It's real fun.
Yes, okay. Chris, could you describe the responses that we've received so far in the polling, online polling?
Yeah, in fact, I can pull it up and it looks like we've gotten 2 more since I created that summary document. So I'm going to have to do some math in real time. So it looks like our top contender right now is entry, growth, and distribution of Virginia attorneys. So can you all see this okay? The poll
Very well.
results
It's
here?
pretty tiny for us.
Okay. Let me see if there's a way for me to zoom. Don't actually know how to do that within Microsoft Forms.
So if you could just read it out again, then we'll just set a settle for that.
Yeah, so it looks like the top
Actually,
first-
just Krista, just so you know, next to your name, there's a plus and minus sign. Everybody can zoom in on their own. If you just go to the right of Krista's name, and I'm able to now see it very clearly.
Oh, great.
Do you see it there, David? Or I'm sorry. I thought they had
Yeah,
control.
we're using Katie's keyboard.
Vex or what name?
Okay,
Whose name?
now we're seeing the Excel spreadsheet of the committee. Hold on.
What you mean here?
Yep.
All right, so
Yep, there you go.
y'all can see that
No.
then.
It won't be that. We can't see it over here. We're still fiddling with it. Okay, where is,
I see it.
You see it?
I see it.
yes, there it is.
Okay,
Keep going.
keep going.
Can you
Okay,
shift it around
yeah,
a little bit?
slide
Ah,
over.
there we go. Maybe one more, 2 more, I
Yeah.
think. 2 more clicks and then we can
Maybe
see.
get a little bigger here.
My old eyes.
Yeah,
need-
we
need
all,
bigger.
several of us have old eyes here. Be careful.
I have old eyes, yeah. You know,
Okay,
If you'd seen the stuff I'd
I
seen.
mean, the glow.
okay, this
Okay.
is legible. So
All
Okay,
right,
so
good. So
the entry, go ahead.
I have been summarizing these results so that it's easier for us to figure out who the front runners are here. And it looks like our 3 front runners that we need to take a final vote on are lawyers enhancing general access to legal services. That would be the acronym Legal Study Committee. Optimizing access to attorney services in the state, the OASIS Study Committee, and then entry, growth, and distribution of Virginia attorneys, the EGAD Virginia Study Committee. So I can actually move this over so everybody can see. I do know how, well, I typically do know how on Excel when it's not in this format. To blow this up so y'all can see, but I think we should just go around the room through the roster and have everybody give us their first choice of these 3 names.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to start here in the room and then go online. Katie, you get to go first as our host.
My vote is for Oasis.
Oasis.
Yes.
All
Okay.
right, Bruce.
My vote is also for Oasis.
My goodness. Here in Southwest, there's a tidal wave. All right, I'm going to go to our online people here. And Solomon.
I'm gonna go against the grain. EGAD, I like that one.
Okay, Lola.
I'm going to go with EGAD as well, because although I like the acronym OASIS more, I'm not sure that with the new the new expanded focus of the group, that name covers the expansion.
Okay, Jennifer.
EGAD. For the same reason.
All right. And Jerry.
He might be muted.
Jerry, you muted?
Oh, he is muted.
Okay, Jerry cannot hear you yet. All right, Jerry, we'll come back to you. Henry.
EGAD.
Okay, it is EGAD is now the numerical leader. Regardless, we have 4 for EGAD, 2 for Oasis. Mine continues to be legal because that to me is the closest descriptor of what we're actually doing. And if there's going to be a name appear in Lawyers Weekly or the Virginia Lawyer magazine, what kind of name, what kind of acronym do we want to have appear there? But I appear to be the only person who's voting for legal. So, so it looks to me like EGAD is the winner. Is there any objections going forward?
I think it's a weird acronym.
I think it's a weird acronym with the VA at the end, but I think we do have the majority rules.
There we are.
Is there anyone
Thank you.
on who didn't vote?
Yeah, David Weber, I didn't vote, but I vote for EGAD too.
Oh, David, I'm sorry. I left you off.
I'm a very forgettable person. Don't worry.
Okay. Okay, so that seals it then. EGAD it is. Thank you all for your comments on that.
But it's not just EGAD, it's EGAD VA.
EGAD VA. We'll have to figure out how that can roll off the tongue more easily. Entry growth and
Or if we want to
distribution.
sound fancy, it could be EGAD VA. EGAD VA.
EGAD, yeah, okay.
That's worse.
Okay.
Yeah, I like EGAD.
We could say it's Latin. How does that work? Okay,
Not
very
well,
good.
David, not well.
No, okay, yeah, strike that, okay. Good, all right, well, we've chosen the name. The next agenda item then is our mission statements. And the draft we have before us says, our mission is to examine and raise awareness of the declining number of lawyers practicing in Virginia, resulting impacts on the population and economy of the Commonwealth, particularly in geographic areas that may be described as legal deserts, and to make recommendations to address these trends, mitigate adverse impacts, and improve access to legal services, the legal profession, and the justice system for all Virginians. Yes, that is all one sentence. Any comments on that? Any objection to adopting this as our mission statement? Hearing no objection, I will call that adopted, and that is our mission statement going forward. Thank you for that. Next, moving on is the scope of work. And you can see 6 bullets that we have listed there. Is there anyone who has not had a chance to read through those 6 bullets?
David, can I throw
Yeah.
something out very quickly?
Go ahead, Bruce.
Going back to the name, here's an idea. Let's call the overall thing EGAD VA, and then let's call the Legal Desert Subcommittee OASIS, and let's call the other subcommittee Legal. What do you think?
Whoa, what a diplomat. That is worthy of the United Nations.
Sure.
Very, very smooth. Okay. Did everyone hear and understand Bruce's suggestion?
I like it.
No one's willing to admit that they heard it. I don't know. This could be a problem.
Yeah.
I did.
Good. Okay. I'm just kidding. Any objection to his suggestion that the EGAD will remain the name of the full committee, legal one subcommittee, and OASIS the other subcommittee?
I'm not trying to be difficult, but I just feel like one of them should be called the desert and one of them should be called, the bigger problem. I'm just confused as it is, but I'm sure I'll get used to it. But I wanted to raise that I think we should just call, we should call it what we're actually doing.
It's punchy.
I agree it's punchy.
Okay. Good. Who was that that just spoke?
David Weber.
Yeah, that was David Weber.
David,
Well, I continue.
they're struggling because I'm sharing my screen. I don't think they're able to see everyone on camera. So apologies for that. You may want to say, this is David, this is Henry, this is Lola when you speak up.
That would help. Yes, indeed.
Understood. Sorry about.
Okay. So, following Bruce's lead, so that committee could be Legal Deserts and the other could be OASIS, which sounds like a solution for desert, right? Or something. Yeah, okay. I can see some iconography with camels coming out of this. We'll work on that. Okay. I don't hear any objection for any further objection or comment. So we'll go with that. Thank you very much, Bruce.
I think the song can be Aladdin.
Okay. Aladdin. Okay, we even have music now.
Immediately where my brain went.
Good. Okay. Back to the scope of work. Would anyone like to discuss those 6 bullets? Trends in the lawyer population, define and characterize legal deserts, etc. Looking at impact, how best to publicize to VSB membership information and trends, developing accessible and readily implementable recommendations, and identifying reforms and legislative actions and other potential solutions. Does this scope sound good to everyone?
Sounds great.
Good.
This is Lola. I wonder if we should also look at any efforts being done by other states. And when I say efforts, not only to encourage more law students to stay in their particular state, but maybe some, not just outreach, but maybe some changes that they're making to make it more enticing to stay in that particular state.
Good comment, Lola. To me, we should certainly be looking at other states with regard to all the things that we're talking about, but we don't explicitly state that in the scope of work.
And if you don't think it's necessary, that's fine. I just wanted to mention that.
Okay.
We can always add that to focus areas under under the subcommittees.
Okay. Katie was suggesting that we make sure that it appears in the focus areas.
Okay.
Well, work for you? But let's come back.
Sounds great.
Let's make sure we address it. Make sure it does.
And I do think when you get down to the research initiatives, I think there's a little bit on maybe what's happening in other states but I can certainly add that in, and then the subcommittees can define it and refine it further.
Good. Yeah, I see two references to out of state with regard to law grads and students. That's it. But let's make it a little more clear, I think, Chris.
Yes, I will definitely add that in. And then my goal with drafting this with David and others was to at least give the subcommittees a jumping off point, but it wasn't meant to be an exhaustive list of what those subcommittees could explore.
Great. And I agree. There should be no fences on what we look at. Okay, any other comments about the scope of work?
I think we do need to take just a quick vote on that, David, since it's an actual action item.
Yes. Okay. Can I ask for a motion to adopt the scope of work as presented here?
I'll make that motion.
So if there's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Here's a
Katie
second from Henry.
seconds. Any other discussion? I'll try a voice vote first. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Are there
Aye.
any nays? Are there any nays? Okay. The
Any
motion
abstentions?
Approved. Thank you. Are there any abstentions? No abstentions. Okay, so that motion is approved and our scope of work is adopted. Moving on then to the focus area of subcommittees and related scope of work. Chris, would you describe, in my view, I think these are focus areas are intended to get us started. There's certainly a focus area starts off with talking about bar admissions and attorney, the number of attorneys in the state, and then the second area is legal deserts. So it does divide up the work of the committee into those two focus areas, one for each subcommittee. But as I mentioned a minute ago, I don't think, to me, there are no boundaries in what we're able to look at that is related to these topics. Any other
Yes.
comments on these?
So I just wanted to explain that what I did was I essentially took the bullet points from the scope of work that was just approved up top and just pulled them into what I thought was the appropriate subject matter or focus area subcommittee. So the language really just mirrors what's in the approved scope of work and breaks it down for the relevant subcommittees, but it doesn't get into the nitty-gritty of the research initiatives, which I think should really be determined by the subcommittee groups themselves.
This is David Weber speaking. I just wanted to point out that there is, as described in the scope of work, it's a little bit different than in the subcommittee area. There is a bit of an overlap for the OASIS, what will become the OASIS subcommittee, because I think that part of the solution for the legal desert is going to be regulatory reform or legislative action to increase attorney numbers in the legislative deserts. So just giving an example, right off the top of the head, if you look at medical schools, there's a whole public health service program that pays for people to go to medical school if they go to Indian reservations or other places. And so right now, the regulatory reforms or legislative actions is sitting in the committee dealing with the bigger problem. And I actually think it belongs in the legal desert place. But I'm just pointing that out because I'm obviously very interested in the legal desert since my wife and I are the only lawyers in Chincoteague. But I think that it applies equally throughout all of our legal deserts, that if people were incentivized to have their school paid for or have reduced taxes or any number of economic incentives, if they gave a certain number of years of service to practice in law, it belongs in both or something like that.
So I do have a bullet point here under legal deserts, Virginia legal deserts for regulatory reform.
Great. I didn't see the second page. I didn't see the second page when you were sharing. Great. But I just wanted to point out that there does seem to be a lot of overlap then, because the
Yes.
words are there. So
Definitely.
it's the same thing. And so I'm not complaining about it. I'm just raising that there is a significant overlap in the problems and solutions in both committees.
That may just be unavoidable, though.
Yes, I think we should certainly communicate with each other as we're going along. Every time a subcommittee meets, we should certainly, notify members of the other subcommittee, if case, and what the proposed agenda is. We can share notes afterwards. So we're sharing information throughout the process.
In final product, we would obviously have to reconcile between the two committees. It's like things crossing over from the Senate to the House and vice versa. So I think that may be unavoidable.
Yes.
And I do think in the final report, which is why it makes sense for there to be subcommittees of this larger committee, the final report should beautifully marry the interrelationship between these two focus areas. If it were a completely separate committee for legal deserts and a separate committee for lawyer population, then you wouldn't have that opportunity to bring it all together. And we will be having business meetings of the full committee throughout this process. And I think that will naturally allow us to communicate and make sure that we're not, retracing the steps that have already been trod by one of the subcommittees.
David, this is Christy Hall, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to point out that Patrick Murphy has come on with us.
Thank you.
Great.
Yes,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, sorry that I'm late. I just got back from court not that long ago, and I won't be able to stay on long, but I wanted to come in and for a little bit.
Okay. Patrick, thank you for joining us. We need, seeing that you're at your office, we need to identify the street address of your office for FOIA purposes. Could you go ahead with that? Patrick, what's your street address?
Sorry, I was on mute. 6060 Jefferson Avenue, 3rd floor, Newport News, VA 23605. I think I'm just about 60 miles from Grundy. That's a joke, but
that's as the rocket flies, I think. Okay, good. Thank you for that discussion then of the focus areas. Any other comments on the focus areas?
And I think you're going to want to get a vote on that as well, Chair, just so that we can refer action to them.
Yes, okay. Thank you for that,
I
Chris.
move. Jennifer Franklin moves.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right. Second by Bruce. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed, say nay. Any opposed? No, none opposed. Any abstentions? Okay, the motion's adopted. Thank you very much for that.
David, I think that a recommendation I would make is, even though it doesn't follow the order of the outline, for us to move forward with voting on the proposed schedule for the study committee meetings, just in case our discussion is more robust than we anticipate on items A and B. So I'm going to scroll down to that portion of the outline and skip through this other stuff until we're ready for the discussion.
Chris, are you saying that the next, on the printed agenda, the next item is the proposed schedule? You're saying you want to skip over that now and move to these others?
No, I thought that that was out of order because the outline is out of order, but good. I'm glad it's in the right order on the agenda. I must have thought about that in
Our
advance.
outline has schedule next.
Okay, perfect. Yes.
Okay, good. All right, let's turn to that then. Which page are we going on? I have to get on the right page here. Not on the right page, so I'll just talk about it. The subcommittees, Chris and I think are able to set their own schedules and should report to the full committee on what they're choosing. The legal deserts, there's one aspect I think of scheduling that needs to be done, voted on quickly by the full committee, and by quickly I mean June, which is, well, we need to set up our schedule not only for the business meetings, but also field hearings. And I've spoken previously about what I think is the importance of doing field hearings around the state to gather input from people who've been affected by the legal deserts, by the lack of access to lawyers or legal advice in their own communities. And we need to start working on those soon, to work with the local bars, to get the word out about we're inviting written submissions first, from which we will choose the people who are actually asked to testify live. We want to do that in conjunction with the Access Commission, which is also planning on field hearings, so we're not doubling up on each other. So I think Chris and I have talked about having our next full committee business meeting in mid-June to review the proposed schedule, and it would cover, I think, Chris, both the business meetings and the field hearings. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Okay, Bruce agrees. Okay, there we are. Yes, on the top, the list of topics for our meeting of today, the bottom of the second page is titled Proposed Schedule and Content for Study Committee Meetings, and scheduled business meeting in mid-June 2024 to share initial research plan of subcommittees, including proposed dates for meetings and field hearings. And as I've said, I think that's a full committee issue. So I think Chris and I will work on meeting dates to share with you with both subcommittees. Proposed research focus, proposed data collection, stakeholders for information gathering, agree on research timeline, and host of priority guest speakers, if any. So, Krista, did you want to say anything about that?
I think the only other area where it would be helpful to get input is I was envisioning just to keep the scheduling burden down on committee members, that the full committee would not meet again until December, after the subcommittees are really active in their information gathering. Because I think that the rubber is gonna meet the road really in the subcommittee meetings when it comes to the research. So I would love input on that, whether or not you think we need to have more full committee meetings beyond June, when some of the initial subcommittee research plan, is presented to the full committee and approved. So I'm flexible on that. Obviously, we'll do whatever the committee wants, but I thought it was worth raising.
Just as we look at the written proposed schedule, I'm sorry, Katie, Chris does call for a mid-June meeting followed by a business meeting in December. So it's follows what she's written. I'm sorry, Katie, go ahead.
It wasn't me, it was somebody else.
Somebody else.
It's Jennifer. Jennifer,
Jennifer.
I was wondering if I could make a suggestion, because there's such a big gap between June and December, and such a small gap between now and mid-June, that maybe we bumped the mid-June to late June, mid-July. I know that I mean, I don't know how busy everybody is with the bar exam coming up, but it just seems like that's a lot to try to get these subcommittees to not only get together, but then figure out all of this stuff before mid-June, when we haven't even decided who's serving on what yet
Yeah.
and what their schedules are.
Yeah. Yeah, and we are calling for a lot of work to be done before that next meeting, I think. Chris, do you see any difference between late June and early July in terms of your schedule or the bar schedule?
No, I think that's right. And I would want the proposed schedule to reflect what's realistic for the members.
Probably go that first week after the 4th of July holidays, which would be
The
sometime the week of the 8th. Does that sound right to everybody?
Any objection to that? Early July? Soon after the July 4th holiday? Yeah, I don't think I would want to go any later than that, because we need then to start working with local bars, et cetera, to schedule all these field hearings to take place. I think, perhaps as early as August, but certainly going through the fall.
Will we do that meeting out in Tidewater somewhere? Would that be the plan to have that, or would that be a virtual meeting?
I think for this early July meeting, Chris, could we do it in this format, as we're in like 3 people in person and then everybody online? With that, what we're doing again?
The next full business meeting could actually be all virtual.
Okay. Well, good. Why not? Great. Okay. So would people like to get out their calendars right now? We have a good number of the committee members here.
I think we have everybody except for Judge Ortiz and
Sandra Chingill.
Sandra.
Yeah.
I think everybody else is here.
Yes. Okay. All right. Let's look at early July.
ninth, 10th, and 11th are open.
I've got some court stuff, but especially if we're doing it in the afternoon. And if we do later in the afternoon, especially my calendar opens up, as you know, as the day goes on.
So, Bruce, you were suggesting the week of the 8th?
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
And Katie had said she's got a lot of availability the 9th, 10th, and 11th.
Okay.
I would propose we do maybe even later in the afternoon than this meeting is scheduled, because I think people's calendars tend to open up as the days go on. Those of us that are doing court work, as you know, it can get pretty hairy in the early morning and the early afternoon, especially.
All right.
Like at 3:30.
Okay.
3:30.
3:30. Okay. Bruce is suggesting a 3:30 meeting for this July meeting.
That's a joint suggestion.
Is that
Katie?
Yes. Okay. That is the Southwest suggestion. Any objection to that? 3:30.
Works for me.
Okay. I have something on that Tuesday afternoon. Katie had something on Monday afternoon, right? How about Wednesday, July 10th, that afternoon?
Good with me.
That's fine with me.
And again, it will be an all virtual meeting, so travel will not be required for this one.
Thank you.
EGAD.
Okay. All right. We will plan on the subcommittees doing substantial work between now and then, doing written reports beforehand, and then our next meeting of the full committee will be July 10th, 3:30, entirely online. Good. All right. I think we're reaching the end of our agenda. Chris, I don't know, anything else you wanted to discuss live, either on the stakeholders or research initiatives?
I think we might want to get people to sign up, because following up by email can be challenging for people. So while we have a critical mass, if you agree, Chair, I think you can go ahead and ask people to sign up for the subcommittee of choice.
Yeah. Yeah, I do want to do that today.
Want to just go down the roster and ask what everybody's first choice is as to which subcommittee to be on?
Okay, let's pin everybody down. Live, okay. My list starts off with David Weber. David, what committee or subcommittee or subcommittees, plural, would you like to be on? You said two.
Go
ahead.
I'd like to be on the Legal Desert Committee, which of course would be, this is David Weber, which of course would be the Oasis Subcommittee. Although I will tell the other committee, whoever you shall be, that I'm very interested in the regulatory reforms on that committee as well.
Okay. Wait, I thought Legal Deserts is separate from Oasis.
Okay, so
Oasis is Legal Deserts. Legal is the other one. because
Oh,
that
right.
was the-
I wrote it down. Wrote down the wrong note here. Thank you. Okay, correcting myself here. So the lawyer population one was the legal. Okay, that was David. Okay, that was your choice then, David? Right.
Yes, to
okay.
clarify that I want to be on the Deserts Oasis Committee. David Weber.
Okay, Solomon.
But for the sake of balance, I'll take the opposite. I'll take the legal subcommittee.
Okay. Thank you,
I,
Sal.
I may, if I'm feeling bold, try to stick my foot in the other one too.
Good. You're welcome to stick both feet in different directions, sir. All right. Lola.
My preference would be the legal subcommittee, but if the numbers don't balance out, I'm happy to serve on the other instead.
Okay. Thank you for offering that. Patrick.
we might have just lost him, but I'll follow up with him by email, David.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Jennifer.
Legal.
Popular so far. Okay, we're missing Judge Ortiz and Sandra. Bruce.
Oasis. But I'm also very interested in the work of the other committee, so I'd like to participate in that one as well.
Okay, good.
Okay. Chair,
Okay.
just quickly, I do want to remind everyone that the FOIA rules apply equally to subcommittees. So there may be a strategic advantage in only having people sign up to be formally involved in one subcommittee, but inviting everyone to attend any that they're available for. We'll publicize the subcommittee meetings widely to the full committee. They can sit in as guests, but then you don't end up crippling yourself because you still are going to have to do the hybrid and in-person. You're going to have to meet those requirements for every other meeting. And when you get a large subcommittee, it's hard to get schedules to match up, especially when you have such a geographically diverse group as this. So just putting that out there.
Okay, good. Well, Virginia is a lovely state to drive around, so we want to encourage that, spending our money along the way. Bruce, we can call you a guest if you'd like to be a guest for the legal population.
Sounds perfect.
Okay. And where are we? Katie.
I'm with Bruce. I'd like to do Oasis, but I think the legal subcommittee, I'd like to sit in on that as a guest, just
Okay.
because I think my position here may be beneficial.
Excellent. Thank you for that. All right. Jerry. Jerry, are you on mute?
I think he's muted. But I feel pretty confident he'll want to be in the Oasis committee.
Yeah. Okay, Jerry, we may assign you to the Oasis committee, the deserts. Okay.
unless he's one of the numbers.
Okay, Jerry's now a member of that. Henry,
Just to keep the numbers even, I'll sign up for the legal committee, the subcommittee.
okay. Okay. Okay, I count four for each.
Yes.
Okay, very even. And what I want to suggest for committee leadership, I would like to continue to help lead both, but I would certainly appreciate working with a co-chair or co-chairs plural. So if you would like to co-chair either of those committees with me, please send me an email, give me a phone call after the meeting.
I'll be glad to co-chair the Oasis committee.
Okay, Bruce has offered to co-chair.
Or sub-chair, or however you want to call it.
Okay.
I'll be Robin to your Batman, David.
Thank you for that image. Okay. Okay, good. All right, I will follow up with you on the other committee. So
You can even call me the Boy Wonder if you'd like.
you do have that sort of,
That youthful energy, right?
yeah. That holy what, Batman?
Holy insert, whatever.
Holy was. Okay, good. Okay, other business. Is there any other business that we should consider today? All right, thank you. We are adjourned until our July full committee meeting. Let's keep each other informed as we develop meeting agendas, share resources, work fully as a team all the way around. Good.
Yes,
Uh,
and
Oh,
I
Chris,
just
go
want
ahead.
a couple housekeeping items. I just want to make everyone aware that all of the documents that have been shared so far are editable. I'm probably going to start now creating 2 subcommittee folders where I'll put some documents. I would encourage you all to go in. We didn't get to really discuss the research initiatives or the stakeholders. I think that's fine. That was by design. That's really the work to be done on the subcommittee level. But if you want to go in and add notes about missing stakeholders that you don't see on the list or anything like that, I would encourage you to do that in the next week. And then I'll divide those research initiatives into 2 separate documents that will go in each of the subcommittee folders. And that can kind of be a starting point for discussions going forward. If you see interesting articles too, or things like that, videos, trainings on either of these topics, send them to my attention and I'll make sure that they get added to our resource list.
Thank you, Chris. Yes, and I think as anyone adds anything to these folders, please just sort of alert everybody else to let everybody know that something new is there. I think that's valuable.
Sounds good.
All right, and I have had difficulty times accessing the State Bar SharePoint folder. Has anybody else had that difficulty?
I ran into a few problems. I think that's just my ineptitude with the Microsoft landscape and the ecosystem.
Okay.
Since I'm a Mac driver from way back, but those challenges can be overcome. Chris was able to talk me through some of the stuff and get me through it. So
okay,
with Chris, all things are possible.
I'm always here as a resource, and if that means I have to send you, God forbid, a copy of something, I'll do it.
Yeah, it's been inconsistent for me. Sometimes I have access and sometimes I don't. So frustrating. So as soon as I have access to anything, I download it to make sure. Good. Okay, well, I think we're all done for today. I want to thank everybody very much. I'm really looking forward to seeing what we develop here. We are adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.